And I realized that this particular set of videos that I have out on YouTube and everything is generally about job issues and banking, Walmart and things like that. But there is a significant section I need to devote here to talking about apartments. And I'm going to talk in general terms first. We'll name a few names, and then I'm going to specifically talk about a apartment called Courthouse Apartments right here in Stafford, Virginia, that their legal problems are just beginning in 2016. It's going to be a real mess. So I find that generally apartment people have problems whereby there's a template. They tend to slumlord things. They don't fix things because they have incompetent staff. They're just barely putting whatever they can in there. They don't know what they're doing. They don't give a rat about the employees, about the renters. And they tell a lot of lies. And generally it's populated by white women. A lot of times you get hooter girls in there to sell the apartment. And they don't know anything. They don't know anything about repairs. They don't know anything about apartments, or they just, I don't know, it's just a waste to take a person and use them that way. You know, just to be some sort of coffee, tea, or me kind of a woman. So it's a waste of a person to do that to somebody for these stupid apartments. Really, you could do this whole thing like you do down at the convenience store with the gas station there, where you do a touch screen. You could just do the touch screen yourself. The whole background check, everything can be done touch screen. Don't need those people in there. If if you're showing the pictures, this is what it is. But it's ridiculous. Now, on the second part, I want to speak about a few specific ones. One of them being Stone Creek in Charlottesville. They act like they have this highfalutin apartment, but in fact, right there, just facing Monticello Mountain, that little infinity pool, twice there have been people in there who have pooped in the pool. So that just ruins the entire effect right there. And people seem to think they can close down a pool for an hour or two or a day or something and it's all good. No, it's not. It's really dirty. It's just filthy living. And while we were there, we also had problems with, this is supposed to be luxury Charlottesville, and you have carpet bunching up in less than 6 months. Never came to fix it, never came to restretch it, missed making excuses. They don't give a rat. If they get your check, that's it. And the crooks in the Virginia General Assembly don't care either. They're right in cahoots with the teachers and the real estate agents. These people all work together because they want to protect their interests. They don't give a rat so long as they get their money. They don't care what kind of condition things, and you can go screw yourself. It doesn't matter. And you go to court, for example, down here and in Stafford, and you listen to the judge lecture you on how you can recover for these kinds of damages. Well, I'm going to come to exactly that point. And so there's two sets of questions. One is that just the basic contract, they are obliged to maintain things. And then second, there's the Virginia Landlord-Tenant Act, which specifically deals with health issues. And that's what I'm going to come to, where that's where the real meat is. And there are also clauses in there against retaliation, that they cannot retaliate for you reporting these things. So it's all a load of crap. It's just they're crooked in the broader sense. And somebody needs to look into this kind of thing. And it's not just here. The apartments all over the country where people are getting screwed out of decent living. It's just ridiculous. So a second thing is the Aquia Apartments. Yeah, I know they're called Aquia. I don't give a crap. It's Aquia to me. And they're down here in the bottom, right behind the Food Lion. That's a joke. I mean, when you have somebody who comes in to fix the same thing 4 times, you're in a world of hurt. And you're not paying money for people to come in and out of your apartment to do this stuff. Secondarily, back in that little groove right there, if you're up on that hillside, when you drive in and you're on the left-hand side at these Aquia Terrace apartments, you are staring down right there in the woods at a sewage treatment plant. So in the summertime, particularly August, September, October, when you have the south wind come through, if there's a hurricane or a tropical storm and there's a remnant and the wind comes out of the south, you get to enjoy the stench off of the sewage treatment plant. And And so do all those condos in that area as well. So the health department, you know, the government of Stafford, they don't give a rat. They just, all they care about is some George Washington Village thing that they think they can make money off of and pad their own pockets with their lawyer friends and stuff. They're all crooks. It's like I said in the other video, they don't mind going along and tearing out trees and pretending to build business parks or shopping centers like the one down here between, just off of near Garrisonville, and well, right there, actually at the Stafford Courthouse on the west side of 95. Acres and acres of trees knocked out for nothing, just sitting there. Nobody's going to build a shopping center there, especially in this ridiculous environment. And now they're raising interest rates. You don't know. You people are a joke. The Board of Supervisors of Stafford County is a joke. They don't know what they're doing. It's not merely redneck stupid. It is just like, I don't know, bone ugly stupid. I don't understand. Why is it you don't know how to run a county? You got roads up here. You don't mind paving your own little parking lot and wasting all those bricks and stuff right there in front of the courthouse and the sidewalks, but you can't find the money right here in Garrisonville as you come off 95 at the bridge to pave that road for years and years now, torn to pieces, and you don't care. You people are a joke. You just, you know, you don't give a rat about doing things right. You have no logic or sense. And again, you strut around with your suits and ties in the board meetings as if you are important, with just a bunch of corn cobs that would be better off with a pair of jeans and a modicum of good sense. So now I'm going to bring on the full thing here. As I mentioned in the other videos, I moved actually from Aquia Terrace out to Charlottesville and took that job with the FTARD. And so as I struggled to get back and was working at the Smithsonian, commuting 7 hours a day at the time, even after I got that promotion, we finally got to the point with UVA where UVA was full on battle mode to cover up the grant fraud and everything. So we moved from there in September of 2013. And we moved to Courthouse Apartments. Now, it seems a little ridiculous to me to charge $1,299, or let's just say for convenience sake, $1,300 for a 2-bedroom apartment in Stafford, Virginia, and call that crap luxury. But most of the apartments in this area are either rent control or they are doghouse, like Point at Stafford, where we actually moved in, and there was dog feces on the deck, ground into the boards. And so they ended up getting sued here at the end of December, and I won a lawsuit against them for on a tenant's assertion lawsuit. So good luck in Morgan Properties, whether you're there or any other place. Read the reviews on the internet. It's just a repeat, one after another, wherever they go. They don't give a crap. So anyway, going back to Courthouse Apartments, at the time it was called Aventine. And so we moved in. Well, before we moved in, they said we have to do some summer work. And so okay, so they held us off for a couple days, and then we moved in. Within a short amount of time, they ended up having to do 3 inspections. It didn't make any sense. They already were in there, but they should have had the place ready. There's no call for inspections after the fact. It's ridiculous. So we noticed there's a stink in there, and because the Smithsonian job was so intense, I just didn't have time. I don't have time to manage an apartment. When I'm paying $1,300, that is their job to manage it and make sure it was ready when I moved in and not after the fact and coming back and doing repairs. So we had, for example, the pilot light on the gas heater for the hot water went out because of a hard wind that came through in the wintertime in early 2014. The guy comes up and says, okay, I fixed it. No hot water. He's got to come back and fix it again. Just like typical Stafford County incompetence. And it was just repairs after repairs, tiles coming loose on the floor. The washer is leaving rust stains on my whites. So much crap wrong in that place. I don't even have the list in front of me at the moment, but the point is that I got down to March of 2014, and I couldn't take the stink anymore from the Sinkerator in the island of the kitchen island there. So the kitchen island sits here, and if you're facing it, on this side you have the stove, refrigerator, and then a little nook to sit down and do things, internet or something like that. So this kitchen island right here is what you're going to see a picture of here in a minute when I swing the camera around and show you something. So March, I said, y'all got to fix this. So they bring, now folks, you got to understand Northern Virginia, from Fredericksburg all the way up to the Potomac River. That's Northern Virginia, and all the way out to Loudoun. That's a lot of people. I mean, there's 1 million people in Fairfax County alone. So you can imagine how many plumbers there must be between Fredericksburg and the river, Potomac River. These people go out of their way to call Rain and Sons out of Hyattsville, Maryland, 50 miles to come down to my apartment to take care of a Sinkerator that's spewing out sewage gas. And they come in while I'm gone and they get their hammer out, not a sheetrock saw, and they knock a hole on this side of the wall, about a 6 by 12, and you'll see here in a minute. They came twice. They didn't fix the stink. They didn't fix the hole. Overall, between them coming and the apartment people saying we're coming or some contact with my wife, there were 10 contacts in March alone. So I go down to the office in late April and I said, when are you going to send me the renewal for the July update? Because we had a 9-month contract. The middle of July, contract's up, so you got 2 months, and it's, you know, that means mid-May you owe me a quote. Yeah, we'll get to it. This was end of April in 2014. Hole still in the wall. I wait around, and finally I get down to, what was it, somewhere around June 16th or so. They called me on the phone, and I have the record from my carrier on the day. They called me exactly at 1 o'clock and said, we need you to come down and sign a new lease. Well, it's supposed to be 2 months notice, not 1 month notice. So I'd already warned them. I said, I'm not paying an increase after the way you've done these things, because by the time I'd gotten down there to sign the new lease, they had made 31 visits. There had been 31 contacts and visits to the apartment for repairs. That is almost, in 9 months, from September out to June, that's almost 1 per week. At $1,300 in so-called luxury apartments, 31. So I got to discussing with the staff, with the Hooter staff out there, 2 girls, and saying, why is it, at first I said, sign a new lease, so when are you going to come fix that hole? And the brunette girl said, smarted off to me and said, put in a ticket. The ticket is what triggered the hole and the repair of the stench back in March. March, April, May, June. We are 3.5 months in now on this mess. So I said, you all are going to have to fix this hole right here. This stench has got to go. And they said, well, you can move to another room. And I said, who's going to move the stuff? We've got probably 30 Walmart tubs of things. I'm working on a book. I've got lots of personal belongings. I'm not moving that stuff myself or renting a van to move to another part of your facility. Y'all staff going to help? No, you have to do it yourself. I said, I'm not paying for it. So, well, then you can move out. I said, who's going to pay the cost of moving out? You're going to pay for that? So they refused on that. I said, all right, I'll tell you what, give me that contract and I'll sign it, and then I'm going to sue you. So I took it upstairs to my wife, because this is the time when Anadarko bounced me off of the what do you call it, the GPO job had finished, and they didn't give me a follow-on job at the USDA or anything else for that matter. I'm sitting at home. But they gave my subordinates jobs, Anadarko and Victoria Edgington. So anyway, what is it? I take the contract upstairs. My wife signs it, I sign it, I take it back downstairs, I hand it to them. They accepted it. That's a done deal. Now, for all of you idiots out there who want to try to say, well, they didn't sign their part yet, it's like, I don't want to hear that. They invited me to a contract, they made an offer, I accepted the offer. It's over. It's done. So the next day, I put in a letter and I said, I'm putting the money in escrow until you fix this hole right here. The next day after that, they send me a letter and say, we're reneging on the contract. So they retaliated. Starting right there, that violates 2 of the Virginia Landlord-Tenant Acts right on the spot. Health issues relating to sewer gas and other things of that nature, and retaliation. Section .39, right off the internet. Go look it up. It's out there. So I'm jabbering with these ditzes over here, and I'd say, let me see the manager. So I go in to see the manager, and I saw it just because I said, why are you reneging on the contract right here? And it said, she lays out some baloney answer. So I said, let me tell you something. You have a hole in my wall, and I have put up with this since March. You bring somebody from out of state to come down here instead of using a plumber locally to fix this. The smell is there, the hole is there, and you haven't fixed it. And then with my hands like this on the chair intentionally, and she's sitting over at the desk over there, this is Shannon Welch sitting over here, I said, whomever put that hole in my wall and left it like that is a clown. And here comes the big retaliation. Shannon Welch tells me, you say that again and I'm going to call security. I said, call them and tell them that I said they called, that I made the request. No. I'm going to tell them I made the request. So here comes this guy in here. So happens it's off-duty deputy sheriff Merville from the Stafford Police. So now we have gotten in a civil contract that they are in breach of in the first place, and then a second contract which they're trying to renege on because I complain about their mismanagement, and they're trying to retaliate by reneging here, and then they want to retaliate further by using the Stafford County Sheriff's Office to intimidate and thug me. So I explained to him what's going on. This guy is so stupid. He can't hear a word. First of all, I've talked to the police since then, and they have openly stated that unless it's a criminal matter, they have no say in the matter. So they violated their own policies by police intimidation against me, interfering in a contract that was none of their business. There were no threats made. I don't own a gun. I said, whomever made this hole in the wall is a clown, and that was the trigger. That's why Merville showed up right there. That's how, and see, this gets right to the point of white women here in the United States. Oh, poor me, I'm a victim. You're more like a jackass that is just going out causing trouble, don't know what you're doing, and trying to cover up for your incompetence or misconduct. And so you just retaliate. That's what you people do, because you don't have any skills. You could have skills, you could be good at what you do, you could be a scientist, you could be an engineer, you could be a PhD, you could be president of a company. Books don't discriminate, but you choose not to. You go to school and you study some sort of crap like psychology or communication or English or what is it? Women's concerns, whatever that major is these days, or diversity, HR, all kinds of crap. And you come out with no skills. You're an idiot. You don't have to be an idiot. God didn't make you an idiot, but you are one because of your own choices. You're lazy. And then you get mad because somebody points out the fact that you don't have any skills and that you're retaliating without cause. So then these two idiots here, Merville and Welch, write me a no trespass order for the office of the apartment complex I live at in retaliation. So I think about my options and I decide instead that I'm going to pay the rent. So on July 3rd of 2014, I paid the rent at a prorated amount for half of the month that I'm on the old contract and the prorated amount for the next part of the month. They said on the check for 10 days. And finally, I had to send 4 messages. I said, either you cash the check or I'm going to put a stop payment on it. So then they mailed the check back to me. And about that time, they send over 2 illegals, which you'll see in the related video. It's a 12-B video on YouTube that shows the illegals in there fixing the hole. So there you already get a picture of what the hole is like, but I'm going to show you again with a scale against it so you can see the size and one other important feature that occurred, and I'm going to make that point in a minute. So they come in there. You see the video. Go just look at the video. It's so much easier to just understand it by that. And yes, it's long and tedious. I realize that. But you see in there where they tape over the hole, they spray paint it, and they walk out. And those two didn't speak a lick of English. They're the cousins of workers in the that are actually employees of Aventine. Well, the funny thing about it, to digress for a second, about this time, Aventine was sold to Venator, which is a company outside. It's a military-related apartment company, investment company out in Illinois. So I wrote to the president and I said, and I filed a bar complaint against him because he's a lawyer for breaching a contract. Because it wasn't, there's some assertion that he made, or somebody out there made a decision, and it wasn't Shannon Welch just retaliating. I would be a little surprised. Well, they got approval, I would imagine, but it was Shannon Welch all the way on this. Well, her retaliating, covering up. And I can explain why in a bit. So, they come in and they do a half-baked job, and that's why I videotaped everything. And the real apartment employee, some black guy I don't know, he just stood there the whole time doing this on his phone. Now, I would like to know why exactly they don't have anybody on their staff who knows how to do sheetrock. Because let me tell you something, folks. I've already been here in Stafford to a couple places where there was a woman working, say for example, one at a local bank and one at a some fast food restaurant, which I can't remember off the top of my head. And both of them said, sheetrock, I do it myself. Yeah, I know. Don't tell me how to do it, I know. I couldn't even finish the sentence. They weren't mean to me, I don't mean it like that. They just knew how to do sheetrock. But yet, you've got to hire an illegal. First of all, you got to go all the way to Hyattsville to screw up stuff. And still, even then, remember now, folks, they're covering up a hole without putting sheetrock in. And in fact, I found sheetrock, a piece of it about yay size, in the dumpster of the apartment complex a few weeks later. They don't have anybody on their repair staff, maintenance staff who knows how to do sheetrock and tape it up. Whew. But yet they can bring in illegal and they just tape it across and do some jackass job like that. For $1,300, man, we are 45 miles from D.C. We're not up on top of D.C. for high rents. And the trailer park heaven here in Stafford County, look around, come on down. We'll show you. Torn out trees, blight, man, come on. Thanks to the supervisors, board of supervisors, they're idiots. So they go on out. Now notice that we are past the 17th of the new contract by this time, so I'm living in there. And I have filed a lawsuit now. So the lawsuit date is set for November 23rd. July, August, September, and all the way out to the end of October. We don't hear a peep, nothing from the apartment people. Then suddenly we get an unlawful detainer at the end of October order, and it wasn't even filled out completely. It's just some half-baked crap. Doesn't explain what they want, nothing. So that right there is a moot filing. But the courts don't care because they're so corrupt. Stafford courts are so corrupt because they just favor the attorneys. They don't know the law, they don't know the facts, they don't care. The attorneys can come in and say anything they want, but they don't give a rat about the truth. And it's coming, I'll explain why. So I contact the court on the 30th and the 31st of October, and I said, I get this thing here, you know that's the same case as being heard on the 23rd, right? They're going to be heard together, right? Yeah. Then the following Monday, I get a call, and they say, the case has been separated. I said, who made the decision? I asked 3 times, and their clerk is on the verge of hanging up, threatens to hang up the phone on me, says so. Talking about my attitude. Yeah, right. I said, who separated the cases? And then the person says, well, I guess I did. Oh, so now, without a hearing, without a motion whatsoever, you just decide what case gets separated and what gets heard is a single case. You see, what's going on here is that Bob Harris was trying to usurp the authority. Bob Harris is in Manassas. Call him up. He's over there. He's trying to usurp the authority of the court by getting an unlawful detainer, because if he got this done, say by the middle of November, and we get evicted, then if we win the case, how are we going to move back in the apartment? We move where? Who's going to pay for all that expense? See, that's Bob Harris trying to usurp the authority of the courts, and the Virginia bar has the audacity to say it's just a tactic. Oh, really? So you're trying to throw a case and screw the judgment ahead of time, and it's just a tactic? And so you people don't have any ethics. You, Bob Harris, you, the Virginia Bar, you people stink. And you over at the Stafford County District Courts are just as crooked as the rest of them. Because when we went to have a hearing about this matter, then the Judge Pistilnik sitting up there says, okay, the cases will be combined, and blubbers through the whole thing. And I said, who made the decision to separate the cases? And then he says he did. And so the clerk's standing right there, and I said, the clerk told me on the phone that she made the decision. So which is it? A bunch of stinking crooks trying to screw up the entire judicial process in Stafford County. Good job. So then we get to court, and Charles Foley is sitting on the bench. Now, Charles Foley, I had him, he used to be a regular judge in district court over in Fauquier County down in Warrenton. A number of years ago, I was working for a server company. I wanted to make some extra money, so I went out and was attempting to obtain a domain, Pleasant PC. And a cyber squatter contacted me from Arizona or somewhere and offered it to me for $700. Well, he was domain tasting for 5 days, and I didn't know anything about that at the time. But I already had made signs by a company, and I was putting them out around Warrenton to start my advertisement with Pleasant PC. As soon as this guy dropped the domain in Arizona, Klaus Fuchsel in Warrenton picked it up. And then he cyber squatted on my domain. Now, that's non-trivial because in a very similar case, a famous one actually, some guy owned sex.com, whatever. So somebody, some party over here, some guy wrote a letter to Network Solutions and impersonated, saying that the owner had given this guy permission to take the domain to buy it. So Network Solutions gave the domain to this guy. This guy sued Network Solutions and the guy for $65 million in federal court, and of all places in the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit not only gave the man his $65 million, and this guy had to go run for his life and ran on down to Mexico way, he also the court also said that a domain, even though it's virtual, is actually property. And that's where the rubber hits the road. So that PleasantPC.com was my domain. Klaus Fuchsel has his own stupid site, has had it for years, has his own domain. He did this solely to cyber squat on me to keep me from building a competing business in his area. That's all it was about. So Charles Foley is sitting there and openly admits, I don't know much about this, and sits on the case for a couple weeks, and then in his decision he gives my domain to the thief. That's Charles Foley. Doesn't know what he's doing. He is more interested in getting his picture taken with Clint Eastwood when he came over and did that period movie. Might have been J. Edgar Hoover, I guess. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but whatever movie was done. He doesn't mind getting his pictures taken with all that, but in terms of competence and knowing the law and researching, he didn't know what he's doing. So here he is now sitting on the bench, and I looked at this guy. I know this guy from somewhere, and if I remembered early in the case, I would have in the trial I would have asked for him to recuse himself. But that comes up later because he doesn't. He won't recuse himself. That's how arrogant he is. So he blathers on saying, yeah, I worked with some sewage company, you know, pumping sewage one time. I know all about construction and everything. Well, a couple problems emerge, and I forgot to mention this. Prior to the lawsuit itself, the trial, I went to the county and I talked to the building inspectors. The building inspector came by and said, there's nothing I can do. I'm a building inspector, I'm not a property inspector, and there haven't been laws made here to set this up in accordance with the Virginia state statutes for this county and for a person to be put in place to go around and inspect these buildings. He said, I can't make this property owners do anything. Now that's remarkable because in a case just a couple weeks ago against Point at Stafford, Judge Strickland had the audacity to pull out his law book and tell me that there are laws on the books. Well, I've already talked to Jack Cavalier down at that district at Point of Stafford area up there at Widewater, and he openly admits that 10 years ago they discussed it and all the apartment people came out and attacked and said, don't do that. So there are no laws to protect people from sewage gas or any other kind of health issues or anything in apartment complexes in the county of Stafford, Virginia. Right now in 2016, and the board will not respond to any of my documentation or my emails, no response at all. Because they're crooks, all of them. So that's one point right there. So I had the county come in, and I also talked to the, I went across the street actually to the firehouse there and talked to the rescue squad guys. So why don't you call us out? It's like, you know, I don't have the heart to waste your money and your time for this kind of thing for you to come in and, you know, and see this. So then a second thing that occurred between the time of Bob Harris filing the unlawful detainer and the trial itself. Now let's go back to the original thing. What triggered all this? What started this whole thing? Aside from the 31 visits, it was the sewage gas problem coming out. So between late October and the 23rd trial, the Sinkerator finally went kaflooey because one day the stench was really bad. So I opened up the cabinet doors underneath the sink, and from one end to the other there's water and mold because the Sinkerator finally blew up. That's what was causing the problem. It was supposed to be fixed all the way back in March. We go from March to November. March, so, well, really before March actually, but March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Look at that. 8 months of violating state statute in the Virginia Landlord-Tenant Act. It was not negotiable. The pictures were presented in court. And so that's what was shown, all of this. Everything was explained that I've explained to you right here. So again, Foley says, well, I don't know. But what was really remarkable is that he just suddenly we're getting towards the tail end of the trial. Ah, yes. First of all, he lets Merville walk right out. He says, oh, he's just doing his job, and releases him when I sued him for tortious interference in a contract. Merville had no right to be there. Then he tries to exonerate Shannon Welch, but yet he makes the salient point. He says, so you're guilty of mismanagement of your own property. Right there on the spot. Admits the cause. Shannon Welch right there. So all the evidence, including the fact that they called me, invited me to a contract, it was bona fide, they're just reneging and retaliating. They tried to say, well, a few days before we called you to offer, we really didn't want to make you an offer. What? What kind of bullcrap is that? You called me up, you demanded me to come down and make a decision. So I made a decision, I signed a contract, and I agreed to the offer. It's done. It's over. That's going to be salient in a minute. So then we go through the whole trial, and towards the tail end, suddenly Foley just says, okay, that's the end of the trial, I'll make my decision. And right after that, Bob Harris went up to the front and handed documents to the court and then had a conversation with him. That's called ex parte communication. The judge already said the trial is over. No more evidence, no more discussion. It's over. Go home and shut up. But you see, this is the crookedness of the Stafford court. This is what they do. They got favoritism over here to let them do anything they want and conduct negotiations and buddy-roo kind of discussions on the side to throw the trial by any means possible, but yet they don't want to conduct a fair trial and listen to the facts and the law. So then we get a decision from Foley, and you're going to love this one. Foley rules against us and said that the unlawful detainer is valid and throws us out, so that the fraud on the contract doesn't mean frick to him, nothing. He doesn't care. So now the judge has joined with the defendants to engage in fraud, contract fraud. Offer made, contract signed, done deal. Now, what's remarkable is that these people try to make this like a tenants assertion case, because that has come up since then. It wasn't a tenants assertion case. It was a fraud lawsuit for damages. Damages for the stench and everything else. That's what this case was about. And this goes to show how the courts and the slumlords work together to screw people, not just here, but all over the country. This is what's wrong with this country. It's just a bunch of crooks. So anyway, he rules that we are to be thrown out, that the new contract's invalid. In fact, Bob Harris put on his unlawful detainer, he only wanted something like, he wanted rent from October and November. Now, I don't know where he got this from, but this is what he said. And so the judge gave him all of the rent. Well, no, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So he ruled the contract's invalid. So now, folks, when you go into court and you're doing tenants assertions or you're doing unlawful detainers and stuff, you have to be arguing over contract, because you're not arguing over statutes in terms of punitive damages and things from a statutory point of view per se. The original problem is the contract itself. The punitive damages are secondary, the statutory point. So if there is no contract, then there is no way to have a tenant's assertion, because you have nothing upon which to base any dollar value for collection. You don't have a contract. You don't have anything. You see, if you go into court and watch people, they didn't pay the rent, and it's still the contract's is valid. So say you have a year contract and 8 months in somebody loses their job and they didn't pay the rent for 2 months, okay, we're throwing you out. So you see, it's still a contract. This guy rules there's no contract. So he has nothing to collect on. But then he turns around and he rules that we owe the rent from July to December when he finally yielded a decision at the new rent rate of $13.49 with the $50 increase, because they did increase the rent and I did sign the contract, and so they rule that I owe the rent. Where do you get that from? So if I owe the rent, then it means the contract's valid, because you see, the payment is part of the validation of the contract itself. If somebody has a contract with another party, and one party, party A offers a contract and party B makes a payment and party A accepts the payment, that's a contract. You've made the contract itself by your actions. So in this case right here, if they want the money for all this time, then they have validated my point from the outset that it was a valid contract. But the judge says, I owe the money, but there is no valid contract at the same time. I'm coming to a bigger point. So we're evicted right before Christmas, and we have to go live in a hotel. And then we go on to another place to try to rent a property under FANT, F-A-N-T, out of Manassas. Another bunch of crooks start to go to rent a townhome, a condo, and they reneged on a signed contract. Crooked. Yeah. You want to deal with those real estate agents? Good luck. Really crooked. That was signed at the bottom on every single page, and we signed, and then they reneged on it for a December 27th move-in on 2014. But, so we were evicted. We have to stay in a hotel, and that's how we ended up at the doghouse called Point at Stafford, eventually. And so, somewhere January, February, this collection agency contacts us. He got an office in Fairfax. He got the office down in Georgia. And I said, okay, you want to play rough? That's fine with me. So everything I've just told you, I laid it out. And I sent the video, which is the B video showing the hole being patched that's out here on YouTube. And I said, make my day. Explain to me. You know so much. How is it with this ruling right here, there's no contract, but I still owe the money? You can have it either way. And see, here's the catch. They can't admit that they were wrong. Foley can't admit it. Harris can't admit it. And what's the name's, what is now Ultris, Aventine, Venator, then they sold again, and now they're Ultris Apartments. They can't admit this, because if they admit the contract, then they have to admit that it was unlawful for them to throw us out, and they owe us damages. But they say there's no contract. Well, there's no contract, then I don't owe you any money. But you've damaged my what do you call it? My credit. I can't rent an apartment. I can't rent a house. I'm living in a hotel again, indefinitely, because of what you people have done to my credit record and to my wife's credit record. And she hasn't had a job since the UVA case. So you have boxed us in this tiny little corner by doing this to us. Well, if you think that's going to stand, you're in for a rude awakening, because this year there's going to be a lawsuit against all of you, including Rain. You think you can come down and just knock a hole in the place and just walk off? I've seen your ratings. Everybody hates your guts. But what's interesting is how you file a complaint at a judicial misconduct complaint, and the idiots in Richmond say, well, you just didn't like the ruling. No, I don't like when you people don't follow the facts or the law. You're just a bunch of crooks. And you people down in Richmond, both who oversee the Judicial Misconduct Board and also the people at the Virginia Bar, you all are crooked. You all need to probably be prosecuted because you all are inexcusable. You're not Virginians. You're not Americans as far as I'm concerned. It's really ridiculous. So here we are living in a hotel with these marks on our credit and can't rent anything. We paid the rent. We paid the rent the entire time. We paid the rent everywhere we've been. We've never missed the rent. We've had a couple late fees because of people screwing with my employment or screwing with my wife's employment. But we've always paid the rent first. The rent gets paid first, then the phone bill, and then the car insurance. So we can stay mobile and we can continue to work. And all my other creditors suffer because of this, and so it destroys my credit. So you can't tell me about my credit record in terms of moving in and renting something. You all are just full of crap. And all you little dirtbags here in Stafford County who wouldn't rent a place to me with your rules and stuff, hey, you're just part of the racket. Your rules don't mean anything because you would, if you had the opportunity, you would do the same thing to me that these people did to me because you all don't maintain your properties and you don't give a crap and you have the same kind of people, the little secretaries in there running these offices. You're all just a bunch of crooks. You're not interested in about, offering an apartment that's livable, maintaining it, and then receiving the rent in a timely manner. You're not interested in that. You're in there because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know anything about maintenance. And let me tell you something right now. Having been a bricklayer and also having remodeled an entire condo by myself, wiring, sheetrock, appliances, flooring, you name it. I've done this work, so I know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing, and that's what makes me so angry. If I own a property, I'll fix it myself, but I'm not paying you $1,300 or whatever amount of dollars per month to do your job. And I'm not going to sit there and call you when I got pressure at work from idiots who can't do their job in these various places, who want to retaliate or stick stuff on my shoulders where I got to do 2 and 3 people's jobs in IT work. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to pay and then let you walk away like that. No, no, no. No. So I tell you what, Ultris, you think you got problems right now, and Board of Supervisors, and Stafford Police, and the courts, and Bob Harris? You think you got problems with this one little video? No, you got legal problems you're not going to believe when I get done. Because I will get out of this hole, and you're all going to pay for this, for what you've done to me. Spending a Christmas in a hotel with a leftover Subway sandwich for Christmas Day. Yeah, you think I'm going to put up with that? Yeah, good luck with that, because I'll ruin you. That's all right. You'll see me in court again, and this is going to get settled, and I'm going to keep on making videos until this thing gets straightened out, and I'm going to keep on taking legal action against you. And all of you people down at the Virginia Bar and other places, you think you can just walk away from me? Yeah, keep on. I'm going to make sure that this place is a pariah before it's all done. You'll be selling your apartments again, trying to find another buyer. Go ahead, try me. The best thing for you to do is contact me and work this all out right now and clean up my credit record. And that includes the courts, you bunch of crooks, which, by the way, I forgot to say something. So it turns out when I'm putting in a motion for a new trial with a different judge, Foley is the one that gets to oversee the decision of whether I get a new trial or not. You see how this circle of corruption works? Nobody will touch him. And why is it? They claim, oh, well, we brought Foley in because there was a deputy involved and we didn't want conflict of interest. What a load of crap. You bring in a jackass who's incompetent from way over somewhere now in Loudoun County or wherever he's got his rotating judgeship. You bring that guy in here? And then when I had him on the 29th for the tax case that I mentioned, where UVA would not give the W-2 forms until I contacted the U.S. Attorney, and where the state of Virginia, even at trial, refused to give my wife, refused to acknowledge that, what do you call it, in that one case, that the tax refunds were already in their bank account. Even then, common sense. And Foley says sovereign immunity. He would not recuse himself from the bench. So how is it now when you try to tell me, oh, well, Foley was on the bench because of conflict of interest with the deputy? Where was the conflict of interest in the tax case? Why was he on the bench again? See, you people are screwing me. That's how you're doing it over at the district court. You know about my case over there at Fauquier County. You all know who I am. And so you did this to screw me again. That's why this is not going to end. That's going to come out. You'll see. I'm going to keep on pounding until that, and like I said in one of my other videos, if you want me to do intermittent windshield wiper 20 years of this stuff, fine. I'll go as long as you want to on this whole matter and everything else. Good luck to you. Now, I'm going to turn the camera and point it at the laptop so you can see some of the pictures right here. So what are we looking at? This is a picture of the hole that was made by rain and sun, and you can kind of see the scale. I think maybe I realize it's jittering a bit, but that's about 12 inches by 6 inches. Notice it's a hammer hit. That was there from the 1st of March in 2014 all the way until July, just like that, with the sewage gas problem. That's what we had. And then, of course, take a look at the video where you see the people, the illegals in there who don't speak any English with a little girlfriend or something taping over the hole. So now we see it from, you can see it from another angle. I mean, look at that. Look at that hit right there, the damaged sheetrock. $1,300 a month at Ultris Courthouse Apartments in Stafford County, Virginia. This is what we lived with right here. Walk in the house every day like this. And then we have one more, and that is, you can see the mold, you can see the water and everything. This is where in early November, just before the trial of 2014, and on the 23rd, about 2 weekends before, this is where the Sinkerator blew up, and this is all, let me move the camera down a little more, maybe zoom out just a hair. Well, perhaps I'll zoom in a little more actually so you can see firsthand. You see all that mold right there? Let me go slowly here so you can get a good look at this. Underneath the sink right here. So this is on the opposite side of that other picture I just showed you a second ago right here. So you can see what this looks like. This is $1,300 a month, and I'll go back out a little. Look at that mess. So this is how I'm going to end the video, with the mold. Ultris Apartments Courthouse, you got legal problems because I'm coming after you this year in a court of law.